I thought I knew my wife of 15 years until I found a business card in her car. Marcus Rivera, personal trainer. Call me anytime. What I discovered next made me realize Jessica was living a double life. When she came home from her night out, she found her bags packed by the door. My name is Warren Donahue. I'm 47 years old, and I've been a fire captain for the Denver Fire Department for 12 years. I thought I knew how to handle emergencies, how to stay calm under pressure, but nothing in my training prepared me for what was about to happen to my marriage. Jessica and I met when she was 22 and I was 32. She was this vibrant college graduate working at a marketing firm, full of dreams and ambition. I was already established in my career, had my own place, knew what I wanted. The age difference never seemed to matter back then. She said she liked dating a real man instead of boys her age. Our house in Lakewood was perfect, 4 bedrooms, mountain views, 2-car garage where I worked on my vintage Camaro on weekends. Jessica had given up her marketing career after her son Tyler was born, but when he turned 16 last year, she started talking about feeling lost and unfulfilled. That's when the changes began. The first red flag was when she rejoined Facebook and started reconnecting with old college friends. She'd spend hours scrolling through photos, commenting on posts, laughing at her phone in ways that made my stomach twist. When I asked about it, Jessica would brush me off. Just catching up with old friends, she'd say casually. Then came the gym membership. Jessica had never been particularly interested in working out, but suddenly she was hitting the fitness center 5 times a week. She lost 20 pounds, bought new clothes, started wearing makeup again, even for grocery runs. I'm just trying to feel good about myself, Jessica said when I complimented her new look. Is that so wrong? It wasn't wrong, but something felt off. The woman who used to curl up next to me watching Netflix was now restless, always looking at her phone, always finding reasons to be somewhere else. Our conversations became shorter, more functional. Last Tuesday night, I came home from a brutal shift. We fought a warehouse fire for 6 hours. I was exhausted, covered in soot, wanting nothing more than a hot shower and my wife's arms around me. But Jessica was getting ready to go out, applying lipstick I'd never seen before. Where are you headed? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. Jessica glanced at me in the mirror. Girls' night with Sarah and Michelle. I told you about it. She hadn't told me, but I didn't argue. I watched her grab her purse and head for the door without even a goodbye kiss. That's when I knew something was very wrong. The next morning, I was cleaning out Jessica's car while she slept in, something that had become her new weekend routine. Used to be, we'd wake up together, make breakfast, plan our day. Now she'd sleep until noon, claiming she was exhausted from her busy social schedule. I was vacuuming the passenger seat when I found a business card wedged between the cushions. Marcus Rivera, personal trainer, with a phone number and call me anytime, written in blue ink on the back. My hands went cold. Jessica had never mentioned having a personal trainer, especially not one who encouraged after-hours contact. I stood there in our driveway, staring at this piece of cardboard that felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Marcus Rivera. The name sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it. Then it hit me like a freight train. Jessica had mentioned a Marcus from her college days. Her ex-boyfriend from senior year, the one she dated right before we met. Warren, what are you doing out there? Jessica's voice called from the kitchen window. I slipped the card into my pocket. Just cleaning your car, babe. It was getting pretty messy. When I walked inside, Jessica was making coffee, wearing one of my old fire department t-shirts that barely covered her thighs. She looked good, better than she had in years. And that thought made me feel sick to my stomach. You didn't have to do that, Jessica said, not meeting my eyes. I was going to take it to the car wash later. No problem. Found some interesting stuff in there. I pulled out some old receipts and a lipstick tube, but kept the business card hidden. This your new shade? Jessica glanced at the lipstick and shrugged. Sarah recommended it. Said it would look good on me. Sarah, her go-to excuse for everything lately. New clothes. Sarah's idea. New hairstyle. Sarah's suggestion. Late nights out. Always with Sarah. I was starting to wonder if Sarah even existed, or if she was just a convenient cover story. That afternoon, while Jessica was at another one of her mysterious appointments, I did something I'd never done in 15 years of marriage. I went through her phone. She'd left it charging on the kitchen counter, and for once, she hadn't taken it with her. My hand shook as I scrolled through her messages. Most were innocent enough. Texts with her sister, work-related stuff from her part-time job at the boutique she'd started 6 months ago. But then I found a thread that made my blood run cold. The contact was listed as M, with a fire emoji. The messages went back weeks, maybe months. Flirty banter, inside jokes, plans to meet up. And then the most recent exchange from yesterday. Can't wait to see you tonight. It's been too long. Same here. Warren will be at the station late, so we'll have plenty of time. I read that line 3 times before it sank in. She'd been using my work schedule to plan meetings with this guy. Every late shift, every overnight at the firehouse. She'd seen it as an opportunity. The worst part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was realizing how carefully she'd planned it all. I couldn't focus on anything for the rest of the day. The business card felt like it was burning a hole in my pocket, and those text messages kept replaying in my mind. When Jessica came home around dinner time, she was glowing in that post-workout way that now made perfect sense. "How was your appointment?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Jessica froze for just a second before recovering. "Oh, the usual. Sarah and I tried that new Pilates class downtown." "Really? Which studio?" Her eyes darted away. The one on 5th Street. You wouldn't know it." I nodded, filing away another lie. There wasn't a Pilates studio on 5th Street. I knew because our firehouse responded to a medical emergency on that block just last month. The whole strip was office buildings and a dry cleaner. That night, I waited until Jessica was asleep before I did something that went against every principle I'd lived by. I grabbed her phone and copied down Marcus Rivera's number. Then I sat in my garage with a beer, staring at those 10 digits and trying to decide what kind of man I wanted to be. At 6 a.m., I made the call. "Marcus Rivera Personal Training." A smooth voice answered. "This is Warren Donahue. I believe you know my wife, Jessica." A long pause. "Then, oh, I see. Do you?" "Because I'm trying to figure out exactly what you see when you look at a married woman with a teenage son and a husband who risks his life every day to keep this community safe." "Look, man, I didn't know she was married at first. She never mentioned. But you know now." Another pause. "Yeah, I know now." "Good. Then you know this ends today. If I see your name on her phone again, if I find any trace of you in her life, we're going to have a different kind of conversation. The kind that happens face to face." I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from rage. In 15 years of marriage, I'd never had to make a call like that. The fact that I'd been forced to do it now told me everything I needed to know about what my marriage had become. When Jessica woke up that morning, something had shifted in her demeanor. She was jumpy, checking her phone constantly, but no messages seemed to be coming through. By evening, she was pacing around the house like a caged animal. "Everything okay?" I asked during dinner. Jessica looked up from her untouched plate. "Fine. What? You seem anxious about something." She forced a smile. "Just work stuff. You know how it is." But I could see it in her eyes, the realization that her secret world was collapsing. The question was, what would she do next? The confrontation I'd been avoiding finally came 3 days after I'd called Marcus. I was reviewing shift schedules in my home office when Jessica burst through the door, her face flushed with anger. "You called him, didn't you?" Jessica demanded, her hands clenched into fists. I looked up from my paperwork, meeting her furious gaze calmly. "Called who?" "Don't play dumb with me, Warren. Marcus told me some jealous husband threatened him." "That was you, wasn't it?" I set down my pen and leaned back in my chair. "I had a conversation with your personal trainer." "Yes." I thought it was important he understood the situation. Jessica's face went red. "You had no right. Marcus is just a friend. Friends don't send texts about having plenty of time when husbands are working late shifts." The color drained from Jessica's face. She hadn't expected me to know about the messages. "You went through my phone?" she whispered. I did what I had to do to understand what was happening in my own marriage. Jessica stared at me for a long moment, probably calculating how much I knew, how much damage control she needed to do. Then something shifted in her expression, the guilt replaced by defiance. "You know what, Warren? You're right. Marcus isn't just a friend. And maybe if you paid half as much attention to your wife as you do to your precious fire department, you'd have realized that months ago." There it was, the truth finally coming out, wrapped in blame and justification. "So this is my fault?" I asked quietly. "Yes. When was the last time you looked at me? Really looked at me? Like I was a woman instead of just someone who keeps your house clean and raises your son?" Jessica began pacing around my small office, her anger building momentum. Marcus sees me, Warren. He listens when I talk. He makes me feel alive again, instead of like some middle-aged housewife who's invisible to her own husband. I stood up slowly, my own anger finally surfacing. Marcus sees an opportunity. A lonely woman whose husband works dangerous shifts to provide for his family. That's what predators do, Jessica. They find vulnerabilities and exploit them. He's not a predator. He cares about me. He cares about sleeping with a married woman. There's a difference. Jessica's eyes blazed. Maybe I should go find out for myself. The threat hung in the air between us. She was testing me, waiting to see if I'd back down, apologize, beg her not to leave. The old Warren might have done exactly that. Go ahead, I said calmly. But understand that if you walk out that door to be with another man, you won't be welcome back. Jessica stared at me like she'd never seen me before. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. For several seconds, we faced each other across the small office where I'd paid bills and planned family vacations for 15 years. Jessica was waiting for me to blink first, to cave under the pressure like I always had before. But I didn't. Fine, Jessica said finally. Maybe it's time I did something for myself for once. She turned and walked out of my office. An hour later, she was gone. Jessica returned home around 6 p.m., dressed to kill in a black cocktail dress I'd never seen before. Her makeup was perfect, her hair styled like she was heading to a fancy restaurant instead of whatever lie she was about to tell me. She found me in the kitchen, cleaning up after the dinner I'd eaten alone. I'm going out tonight, Jessica announced, not meeting my eyes as she checked her reflection in the microwave door. Where to? Marcus is having a party at his place. All his friends from the gym will be there. She turned to face me, her chin raised defiantly. I thought it was time I met them. There it was. She wasn't even pretending anymore. My wife was openly telling me she was going to spend the evening with her lover, at his house, probably with the intention of not coming home at all. So you're choosing him. Jessica's eyes flashed. I'm choosing to have some fun for once in my life. You made it clear you don't want me around, Marcus. So maybe it's time I stop caring what you want. Jessica, if you walk out that door to go to his party, we're done. Do you understand that? She grabbed her purse from the counter, her movements sharp and deliberate. Maybe we've been done for a long time, and we're just too stubborn to admit it. Maybe we have. Jessica paused at the kitchen doorway, probably expecting me to chase after her, to beg her not to go. When I didn't move, she straightened her shoulders. Don't wait up, Warren. This party might run very late. The front door slammed behind her with a finality that echoed through the empty house. I stood in my kitchen, listening to her car start up and drive away, taking my wife to spend the night at her ex-boyfriend's house out of pure spite. I called Mrs. Henderson to check on Tyler, who was staying overnight at his friend's house. Then I went upstairs to our bedroom and did something I never imagined I'd have to do. I pulled out Jessica's suitcases from the closet and began packing her belongings. Every piece of new lingerie she'd bought, but never worn for me. Every dress she'd purchased for her secret dates. Every expensive cosmetic that was part of her transformation into someone else's woman. As I packed, I found more evidence of her deception. Hotel key cards she'd forgotten to throw away. Restaurant receipts for places we'd never been together. A jewelry box hidden behind her shoes containing a necklace I'd never seen her wear, probably a gift from Marcus. By midnight, her belongings were packed and sitting by the front door. I'd removed every wedding photo from the walls, every reminder of the life we'd supposedly built together. The house looked empty, hollow, like a stage set after the play had ended. I sat in my recliner, staring at the blank walls, waiting. Jessica had spent the night at her ex's party to spite me, to punish me for daring to confront her about the affair. She probably thought I'd be sitting here worried sick, ready to forgive anything when she finally came home. But when she walked through that door, she was going to be stunned by what I had done. The sound of Jessica's key in the lock came at 3:42 a.m. I'd been sitting in the dark living room for hours, watching the empty street, preparing myself for this moment. She entered quietly, probably hoping I'd be asleep, unaware that her entire world was about to change. The hallway light clicked on, and I heard her sharp intake of breath. She'd seen the suitcases. Warren. Jessica's voice was small, uncertain. Warren, what is this? I stood up slowly, my joints stiff from sitting motionless for so long. When I stepped into the hallway light, Jessica's face went pale. She looked disheveled, her perfect makeup smudged, her hair messed up from whatever had happened at Marcus's party. "Those are your things," I said calmly. "I thought it would save us both some time." Jessica stared at the suitcases, then at the empty walls where our wedding photos used to hang. Her mouth opened and closed like she was trying to find words that didn't exist. "You can't be serious. This is ridiculous, Warren. It was just a party." "Just a party?" I almost laughed. "You spent the night at your ex-boyfriend's house, Jessica. You left here dressed like you were going on a date, and you came home looking like you've been doing a lot more than just socializing." Jessica's hand went instinctively to her hair, trying to smooth down the tangles. "Nothing happened. We just talked, and I fell asleep on his couch." "With your lipstick smeared and your dress wrinkled?" "Try again." The lies were getting more desperate now. She could see that her usual manipulation tactics weren't working, that something fundamental had changed while she was gone. "Warren, please. Let me explain." "Explain what?" "That you chose him over me? That you went to his party specifically to hurt me? That you probably spent the night in his bed while I was here packing your belongings?" Jessica took a step toward me, her hand extended like she wanted to touch me, to comfort me back into compliance. "It's not what you think. It's complicated." "No, Jessica. It's actually very simple." I picked up one of her suitcases and opened the front door. "You made your choice tonight. You chose to spend the night with another man instead of coming home to your husband." The cool night air rushed in, carrying the scent of autumn and the promise of a new beginning. Jessica stood frozen in the doorway, staring at me like she'd never seen me before. "You're really throwing me out? After 15 years? You threw yourself out the moment you decided to betray our marriage vows." I set her suitcase on the porch. "I'm just making it official." Jessica's eyes filled with tears, but they looked more like tears of frustration than genuine remorse. "Where am I supposed to go?" I picked up the second suitcase and placed it next to the first. "I'm sure Marcus will be happy to help you figure that out. You two seem to have plenty to talk about tonight." Jessica stepped onto the porch, her heels clicking against the concrete. She looked back at me one last time, probably searching for some sign that I might change my mind. "This isn't over, Warren." "Yes," I said quietly, "it is." I closed the door and turned the deadbolt. Through the window, I watched Jessica stand there for several minutes, probably waiting for me to open the door and take her back like I always had before. But this time was different. This time, she had pushed too far. Eventually, she picked up her suitcases and walked away into the night she had chosen over our marriage. I woke up on the couch at 6 a.m., my neck stiff from sleeping in an awkward position. For a moment, I forgot what had happened the night before. Then I saw the empty walls where our wedding photos used to hang, and reality crashed back down on me. Tyler's bedroom door was still closed when I walked upstairs. Good. I needed coffee and time to think before explaining to my 16-year-old son why his mother's belongings were no longer in our house. The kitchen felt different without Jessica's morning routine. No coffee maker programmed, start at 5:30. No breakfast dishes in the sink. No perfume lingering in the air from her getting ready for work. Just silence and the weight of decisions that couldn't be undone. My phone buzzed with a text message. "Jessica, we need to talk. This is insane." I deleted it without responding. Another message came 5 minutes later. "Tyler doesn't deserve this. Think about what you're doing to our son." That one made my blood boil. Now she was concerned about Tyler. Where was that concern when she was sneaking around with other men, using my work schedule to plan her betrayals? I heard Tyler's alarm go off upstairs, followed by the familiar sounds of a teenage boy getting ready for school. Heavy footsteps, running water, the clatter of him grabbing something from his dresser. Normal sound from a life that was no longer normal. "Dad," Tyler called from the kitchen. "Where's Mom?" "Her car's not in the driveway." I found him standing by the empty coffee maker, looking confused and slightly worried. He was dressed for school, backpack slung over one shoulder, car keys in his hand. Just a regular Thursday morning for him. Except nothing about this morning was regular anymore. "Sit down, son. We need to talk." Tyler's expression shifted from confusion to concern. "Is Mom okay? Did something happen?" "Your mother is fine, but she won't be living here anymore." The words hung in the air between us. Tyler stared at me, processing what I'd said, his teenage brain trying to make sense of information that probably seemed impossible. "What do you mean she won't be living here?" "Like, she moved out." "Yes." "Why?" That was the question I'd been dreading. How do you explain to your son that his mother had chosen other men over her family? How do you protect him from the ugly truth while still being honest about why his world was falling apart? Sometimes marriages don't work out, Tyler. Sometimes people change, and they want different things. Tyler sat down heavily at the kitchen table. Are you getting divorced? Probably. We sat in silence for several minutes. Then Tyler asked a question that broke my heart. Was it something I did? No, son. This has nothing to do with you. This is between your mother and me. Tyler nodded, but I could see the confusion and pain in his eyes. Can I still see her? Of course. She's still your mother. But even as I said it, I wondered what kind of mother Jessica would choose to be now. 3 days passed in relative peace. Tyler went to school, I went to work, and we established a new routine that didn't include Jessica. She'd sent a dozen text messages that I'd ignored, left voicemails I deleted without listening to, and even had her sister call me to talk sense into the situation. I wasn't interested in talking sense. I was interested in moving forward. On Saturday morning, I was working on my Camaro in the garage when a silver BMW pulled into my driveway. I didn't recognize the car, but I recognized the woman who got out of the passenger seat. Jessica looked different, tired, stressed, like she'd been crying. The man driving was someone I'd never seen before, tall and well-dressed, probably in his 30s. This had to be her latest conquest. Jessica approached the garage cautiously, like she wasn't sure of her welcome. She wasn't. Warren, we need to talk, Jessica said. No, we don't. I kept working on the engine, not looking up. This is Derek, Jessica continued, as if I'd asked. He's been helping me through this difficult time. I finally looked up, studying the man who was apparently Jessica's emotional support during the aftermath of her affair. He looked uncomfortable, like he'd rather be anywhere else, which told me he probably had some sense of decency. More than I could say for my wife. Derek, I said, nodding politely. I'm Warren, Jessica's husband. Derek's face went red. Look, man, I know this is awkward. Awkward. I stood up, wiping my hands on a shop rag. My wife having another man drive her in my house is awkward. That's an interesting way to put it. Jessica stepped between us. Warren, please. Derek is just a friend. He's helping me figure out where to go from here. I can help with that, I replied. Go anywhere that isn't here. Jessica's eyes filled with tears, but I felt nothing. The woman crying in my driveway was a stranger who happened to look like someone I used to love. I want to see Tyler, Jessica said. Then call him. Make arrangements. But you're not welcome in this house anymore. Derek cleared his throat. Maybe we should go, Jess. Jess. She was already using a different name with her new friends. How quickly she'd adapted to her new life. This is my house, too, Jessica said, her voice gaining strength. You can't just lock me out. Actually, I can. You made your choice when you decided to start living a double life. These are the consequences. Jessica looked at me for a long moment, probably hoping to see some crack in my resolve, some sign that the old Warren was still in there waiting to forgive and forget. But that Warren was gone, replaced by someone who finally understood that respect wasn't optional in a marriage. Fine, Jessica said finally. But Tyler needs to know the truth about why this happened. The truth is that you chose other men over your family. If you want to tell Tyler that, be my guest. Jessica turned and walked back to Derek's car without another word. I watched them drive away, then went back to work on my engine. Some things were worth fixing. Others were too broken to save. 6 months after Jessica left, I was working late at the firehouse when Captain Rodriguez approached me with unexpected news. Warren, there's someone here to see you. Says it's important. I walked to the front office and found a woman in her early 30s, professional looking, with kind eyes and a nervous smile. Mr. Donahue, I'm Sarah Martinez. I work at the hospital downtown. Sarah, the mythical friend Jessica had used as her cover story for months. You're Jessica's friend, I said. Sarah's face fell. That's what I need to talk to you about. I found out recently that Jessica was using my name to lie to you. I had no idea. We sat down in the station's break room, and Sarah explained how she discovered Jessica's deception. A mutual friend mentioned seeing Jessica with different men while supposedly being out with me. When I confronted her, she admitted everything. I'm so sorry, Mr. Donahue. I would never have been part of deceiving you. It's not your fault, I assured her. I wanted you to know the truth. And honestly, I wanted to apologize for what my name was used to do to your family. Sarah was genuine honest in a way that reminded me what integrity looked like. We talked for an hour about life, work, and rebuilding after betrayal. When she left, she handed me her business card. If you ever want to grab coffee and talk to someone who understands complicated situations, I'd like that. 3 weeks later, I called her. Our first coffee date lasted 3 hours. Sarah had been through her own divorce 2 years earlier when she discovered her husband's gambling addiction. She understood the difficulty of starting over, the challenge of trusting again. Tyler liked her immediately when I introduced him a month later. "She's normal, Dad," he said after Sarah left from dinner. Like, actually normal. Not crazy like Mom became. Tyler had started therapy to process his parents' divorce, and his therapist said he was handling the situation remarkably well for a teenager. "You gave him stability when his world fell apart," the therapist told me. "That's the foundation he'll build his adult relationships on." Jessica tried reaching out occasionally, usually when she needed something related to Tyler, or when one of her relationships ended badly. I kept our interactions brief and focused on her son. Derek had lasted 2 months. The man after him made it 6 weeks. Jessica seemed to be cycling through relationships, searching for something she'd never find because she didn't know what she actually wanted. "Do you ever feel sorry for her?" Sarah asked one evening as we watched the sunset from my back porch. "Sometimes," I admitted. "She threw away a good life for temporary excitement. But I can't fix that for her." Sarah took my hand. "You're a good man, Warren Donahue." I'm learning to be. For the first time in years, the future looked promising. 1 year later, Tyler graduated from high school with honors. Jessica attended the ceremony, sitting several rows behind Sarah and me. She looked older, tired, like the consequences of her choices were finally catching up with her. After the ceremony, Tyler hugged us both. "Thanks for not making me choose sides," he said quietly. "I know it would have been easy to turn me against Mom." "She's still your mother," I replied. "I wanted you to figure out that relationship for yourself." Tyler had done exactly that. He maintained contact with Jessica, but kept appropriate boundaries. He'd learned to recognize manipulation and respond to it with calm detachment, skills that would serve him well in life. Jessica approached us as we were leaving. "Warren, could we talk privately for a minute?" Sarah squeezed my hand and walked toward the car, giving us space. "You look happy," Jessica said, glancing toward Sarah. "I am. Good. You deserve that." Jessica paused, looking genuinely remorseful for the first time since our marriage ended. "I owe you an apology. A real one." "You don't owe me anything, Jessica." "Yes, I do. I destroyed our family because I was selfish and scared of getting older. I convinced myself that you didn't appreciate me, but the truth is I didn't appreciate what we had." I nodded, accepting her words without offering forgiveness. Some wounds heal, but they leave scars that serve as reminders. "Tyler's going to Colorado State in the fall," I said, changing the subject. "I know. He told me. You raised a good son, Warren." "We both did. Before things went wrong." Jessica smiled sadly. "Yeah, before things went wrong." That evening, Sarah and I celebrated Tyler's graduation with dinner at his favorite restaurant. Tyler regaled us with stories about his college plans, his summer job, his excitement about starting fresh in Fort Collins. "Are you going to be okay when I leave for college?" Tyler asked me. "I'll miss you terribly," I said honestly, "but I'm proud of the man you become. You handled this divorce better than most adults would have." "I had a good example," Tyler replied, looking directly at me. After Tyler went to bed, Sarah and I sat on the back porch, talking about the future. We've been dating for 11 months, taking things slowly, building something real and lasting. "I have something to tell you," Sarah said, taking my hand. "Good something or bad something?" "Good something. My lease is up next month, and I was wondering if you'd like a roommate." I smiled, pulling her closer. "I like that very much." 2 years after Jessica walked out of our house to meet another man, I was building a new life with someone who valued loyalty, honesty, and commitment. The betrayal that had nearly destroyed me had ultimately led me to something better. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened.